Good evening, class. Coherence and cohesion. These are the first two categories two amongst 7 categories used to identify a text. First two, coherence and cohesion. The other 5 categories are intertextuality, informativity, acceptability, intentionality, and situationality. The first two are coherence and cohesion. These are the standards of a text, meaning the pillars or the aspects or the things that make a text a text. A text, for example, has to be cohesive, that is cohesion. A text has to be coherent, that is cohesion. A text has to be informative, informativity. A text has to be acceptable, acceptability. A text has to be intentional, written for a purpose. A text has to be situational, situated in a certain context, context of culture and context of situation, etc., etc. The point why I'm saying this at the beginning of the class is that cohesion and coherence are crucial to text construction. If a text lacks cohesion and so coherence, lacks coherence, it ceases to be a text. It fails to be a text. Okay, with this quick introduction or background, we start our class concerning these two important aspects of text, coherence and cohesion. Recognizing the macro structure of a passage, that is coherence, and the micro little mechanics used in a text to make a text. Learning objectives. In this lesson, we will learn about coherence, that is the logical organization of ideas, how ideas are organized, how we join ideas to come up with a text that is informative, that is intentional, that is situational, that is coherent and cohesive. Cohesion. In this lesson also we're going to learn about cohesion, which deals with the organization of language or how sentences are connected and related. How sentences are at the level of the sentence, intrasentential relation, and at the level of the paragraph, suprasentential relation. These are the criteria used to assess writing and speaking tasks. And so quickly, coherence and cohesion are assessed by proficiency test examiners, the IELTS, for example. In the IELTS, for example, in the speaking task as well as the writing task, the productive skills, the examinees are being tested for coherence, fluency and coherence in the speaking task. One criterion among 40 criteria in both the speaking task and the writing task are being used among 4, not 40. Are being one criterion among the 4 criteria being used to assess speaking and writing is that of cohesion and coherence, alongside lexical resource, vocabulary, in other words, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation in the case of speaking, and response to task in the case of the writing task or the writing section. And so these two concepts are crucial in language, in text building and text construction. So please pay attention. And as usual, remember that this discussion is beneficial for the writing activity as well as the reading activity, the reading act. So if you wish to write something, you should make sure it's cohesive and it's coherent. And when reading, you should look for these mechanics of cohesion, the linguistic markers of cohesion, the cohesive devices that are used to make a text cohesive and so coherent. To begin with, I would like to state that any text has two types of structure, two types of unity. Any text, whether an essay, a paragraph, an email, a news report, any text exhibits or must exhibit two types of unity. Unity of structure and unity of texture. What do we mean by these types of unity that every text must have? So texts have structure and texture, which create unity in the text. So unity in a text is achieved by structure and texture. All texts then exhibit two types of unity. Take, for example, press reportage. As an example of unity of structure, let's take two examples of texts. A journalist writing a news report begins by having a headline, followed by a byline, followed by a lead. And so any news report must have this prearranged structure. A headline where the heading, the title is mentioned, and then a byline where the name of the writer is mentioned, and then a lead. A sentence or a couple of sentences that are meant to grab the reader's attention, to hook the reader's attention, to excite them enough to read the rest of the news story or report. And so any news report or a story has this prearranged structure. A headline, followed by a byline, followed by the lead, and then the story. You will take this in a later course titled Media Writing. So you may know a little bit more about this in another course. So this is structure, unity with structure. So any news report must have this structure: a headline, a byline, a lead. By way of further exemplification, let's take the paragraph as a type of text. The paragraph also has a three-part structure: a topic sentence, supporting sentences, major and minor, and a concluding sentence. So any paragraph has this structure. The essay has an introduction, a development, alternatively body, and a conclusion, structure. So every essay, for it to be an essay, understood as an essay, it must have an introduction, a development, and a conclusion. unity of structure. So all essays are unified in this kind of structure. The other type of structure, unity, is that of texture. So texts do not only exhibit unity of structure. The email, if you want to write an email, it has its own structure as a genre or text type. It begins with a salutation, for example, and ends with a closing, for example. In addition to having a unity of structure, every text also exhibits unity of texture. This is where cohesion comes into unity of texture, not disruption. This is where cohesion comes into place. Linguistic markers of cohesion or cohesive devices or cohesive devices or discourse markers that ensure that all parts of a text fit together. The word therefore, for example, signals that one clause is a logical consequence for a preceding clause or clauses. And so having the word therefore in a sentence does not only bind the two clauses together, tie them together, but also show the relationship, what kind of relationship there exists between the first and the second clause. So cohesive devices are systems in language used to connect the different parts, to link the different parts of a sentence, and to help link sentences to other sentences, and show the relationship that exists between these sentences, whether the relationship is that of contrast, that of a consequence, that of limitation, etc., etc. Cohesion. Cohesion is textual syntactic connectedness. Connectedness. So cohesion is connectedness. Textual syntactic. Grammar. Grammatical elements being connected. Cohesion refers to the components that create the elements, the features, the systems that create relationships. Connectedness and relationships. Connectedness and relationships. Between surface elements in a text. Cohesion is the text syntactic connectedness. It is the internal ties and connections. Internal ties and connections that exist within a text. Cohesion is the grammatical and lexical linking. And so, cohesion can be achieved by grammatical means, such as the pronouns and the transitions, or conjunctions rather, and can be achieved through lexical means, such as repetition, synonyms, collocations, etc., etc. So there are two types in this sense of cohesion, or two ways to achieve cohesion: grammatical and lexical. Grammatical, not medical. Cohesion is the grammatical and lexical linking within a text or sentence that holds a text together and gives it meaning. Cohesion acts like cement. I would like you now to picture this, metaphorically speaking. Cohesion acts like cement. The word cohesion, by the way, comes from the Latin root cohere, which means to stick together. And the word coherence comes from the same root, cohere, which means to stick together. And so the word cohesion and cohesion, coherence and cohesion both share the same Latin root. But cohesion has to do with the micro aspect of a text, how the different parts of a sentence are related and connected to one another, and how the sentences are also connected with one another. Coherence has to do with the larger picture, the building, the unity, the logic. Cement. Picture a wall. A wall. This is a wall. Now the wall is made up of bricks. How are the bricks tied together, bound together? By cement. So think of the bricks as the words and the phrases. Words. And think of the wall as the text. And think of cohesion as the cement. So the cement is used to bind the bricks to make one whole unified wall. The job of cohesion is like that of cement, in the sense that it binds together words and phrases and sentences to construct a text. Okay? Cohesion is related to the broader concept of coherence, and so cohesion comes under coherence. What is coherence quickly? We've said that cohesion is grammatical, textual, syntactic. Coherence is textual semantics, meaning. If the text is cohesive, then it will be meaningful. But if the text is not cohesive, then it will not be meaningful, and so not coherent, or not coherent and so not meaningful. Coherence is the internal logic in a text. It is textual semantics. It is the quality of being logical and consistent, the quality of forming a unified whole. Coherence refers to the overall type of the text. It is the unity of the text as a whole to express one topic. It is the wall. It is the building. Cohesive devices are the cement, and the bricks are the words. Okay, we've just said that cohesion comes under the broader concept of coherence. And so, in addition to cohesion, there are other systems or ways to achieve coherence. That is, to make a text meaningful, to make a text communicate a message, to make a text logical, consistent, unified, expressing one topic. That's why in your presentation earlier, I said that you included other topics and which were unrelated, defying or defeating the concept of coherence. So one way to achieve coherence is cohesion. And we're going to detail cohesive devices. But very quickly, the other types or some other ways used to achieve coherence are topic sentences. Topic sentences. Thesis statement when you have an essay or an article. I mean, when you write more than a paragraph, you need a thesis and a pattern or method of organization, like the ones we came across in our textbook, the 11 types: descriptive pattern, narrative pattern, compare contrast pattern, advantages, disadvantages pattern, problem solution pattern, chronological pattern, topical pattern, different patterns we have come across. So having a topic sentence, if you have more than one paragraph, having a thesis, and having a clear pattern, in addition to cohesive devices, a text can be coherent. So all these ways can achieve coherence, logic, unity, the ability of a text to express one topic and to be logical and consistent. We've already talked about topic sentences. We've already talked about methods of organization throughout the course. The thesis statement, we hinted at it, but details about it can be obtained from a writing class. So let's now look at cohesion, at the cohesive devices, the linguistic markers of cohesion that can be used to create cohesion. As you can see, one of the main ways to achieve coherence, to make a text coherent. Cohesive devices. These are words or phrases such as pronouns, such as synonyms, that are used by speakers, such as transitions, and writers to knit single sentences together into a coherent and cohesive whole. To knit, to link, to connect. They are used to link or clarify the relationships among ideas in sentences and paragraphs. We use cohesive devices to show relationships and focus between ideas and to help in the smooth flow of those ideas. They help, cohesive devices, they help your ideas to flow between sentences and paragraphs. A text that lacks cohesion or poor in cohesion will sound choppy, disconnected, and disjointed, and so difficult to understand. A text that does not or have poor cohesion will have sentences that are unrelated to each other. It won't make sense. If I give you a paragraph and take only one sentence from it, the topic sentence, it will be difficult to understand the paragraph and it may be impossible to make any sense out of it. Imagine, you can do this to each other after the class. Take a paragraph, cover or remove the topic sentence, regardless of its position, initial, medial, final, cover it, take it out, and give your classmates the paragraph and ask him to make sense, to tell you what it means. He or she will find it difficult to, without a topic sentence, to make sense of the paragraph. Similarly, if a text does not have cohesive devices, it will be again difficult to relate these ideas together and make sense out of them. Without cohesive devices, a paragraph or essay, any text, will be just a group of unrelated sentences or paragraphs that may be difficult to comprehend. So a text, be it a sentence or a paragraph or a longer piece of discourse that has cohesion, appears as a single unit, not a random sequence of words. So let's learn more about cohesive devices, since they are crucial to coherence, which is crucial to making sense of a text. Let's watch this interesting video about coherence and cohesion. Let me copy the link in the address bar and watch Margot Politis talking to us about cohesion and coherence. Margot Politis.
Hello and welcome to Study English IELTS Preparation. I'm Margot Politis. Today we'll look at writing an essay on ageing populations and how to organise ideas about it in a paragraph. Let's begin by listening to a young woman talking about her grandmother.
She does mainly the cooking and looking after us, making sure that we turn out right, being strict with us. But I think part of her being here allowed us to have respect for older people. Yeah, I think from her I've learned a lot, like the Buddhist belief, how to be a good person, honest, and respectful person to everyone around you.
She talked about the valuable contributions an elderly person can make. The grandmother has positively influenced the children, teaching them respect and honesty and cooking. Let's see how this sort of positive view about older people is developed in a paragraph as part of an essay. The paragraph starts with a sentence that establishes the main point. The valuable contributions that active and healthy aged individuals can make should not be overlooked. This is called the topic sentence. The main idea is valuable contributions that active and healthy aged individuals can make. The writer then goes on with two sentences that support the main idea that old people make valuable contributions by saying what the contributions are. Firstly, these retired individuals could take the role of carers for their grandchildren, allowing both parents to work longer hours and save on daycare expenses. Notice the linking word firstly. It means there will be more than one supporting sentence. What linking word should follow firstly? Secondly, the retirees could volunteer their services as drivers for the very old and sick. To further develop the supporting ideas, the writer provides an example. For example, they could deliver meals directly to their homes or assist with transportation to and from specialist appointments or hospital. The sentence is logically related to what has just been said and linked by for example. This sentence is called a developing sentence. How you refer back to things you have just written is an important way of creating a natural flow to your language. The examiners call it cohesion. You do this with words called reference, which help make links within and between sentences and paragraphs. For instance, look at these sentences. These retired individuals. These refers back to aged individuals in the preceding sentence. And their grandchildren are the grandchildren of the same aged individuals. Reference are used all the time and not just in essays. Listen to the way the man in the next clip uses the and those to refer back.
The car is driven by four in-hub motors, and the in-hub motors directly drive the four wheels. Power source is the batteries. Those batteries are sort of charged by literally plugging it in at home or by the solar cells.
He doesn't just repeat himself. He says the car is driven by in-hub motors. To say what the motors do, he he refers to them again, but as the in-hub motors.
The car is driven by 4 in-hub motors, and the in-hub motors directly drive the 4 wheels.
Next, he says that the power source is the batteries. He's already said the batteries, so he refers to them again as those batteries.
Power source is the batteries. Those batteries are sort of charged by literally plugging it in at home or by the solar cells.
Using reference helps you avoid using exactly the same words too often. You can also use synonyms, words that have similar meanings, in much the same way. Let's look at our paragraph about aged people again. Aged individuals is not repeated in the same form in the paragraph, but as retired individuals, retirees, and in specific roles as carers and drivers. Using reference and synonyms skillfully is not just for essays. Let's look at the ways synonyms and reference create cohesion and meaning in the next clip on an entirely different topic, the ruined city of Angkor Wat.
Right now, we're at Angkor, which is a collection of temples in the north of Cambodia, which, about 1,000 years ago, was the centre of a huge empire which stretched across most of Southeast Asia. The true significance of the place is that it's probably the world's most amazing collection of religious monuments. What you see here is a scale of engineering and aesthetic beauty and a complexity that isn't really seen at any other collection of monument sites around the world.
First, he calls Angkor by its name.
Right now, we're at Angkor,
He then refers to it and says what it is,
which is a collection of temples in the north of Cambodia,
refers again and explains its function.
which, about 1,000 years ago, was the centre of a huge empire which stretched across most of Southeast Asia.
He goes on to refer to Angkor again as the place and it, and finds another way of saying collection of temples, collection of religious monuments.
The true significance of the place is that it's probably the world's most amazing collection of religious monuments.
Now let's look at coherence. What is coherence? When writing an essay, you need to organise and develop your argument logically using paragraphs, starting with an introduction, 2 or 3 body paragraphs, and finishing with a conclusion. There should be a clear transition from one paragraph to the next, linking the ideas between paragraphs. The paragraph we looked at earlier was the first body paragraph of an essay answering this question. The increasing number of older people will cause economic problems for the young. To what extent do you agree or disagree? For this sort of essay, you have to write about different things in each body paragraph. The first paragraph disagreed. It said what positive things older people contribute. So the next body paragraph has to look at the negative effects of an ageing population. Let's look at what its opening sentence or topic sentence should be like. However, the increasing proportion of older people no longer contributing as much tax as younger people will put a strain on the nation's budget. Notice that the sentence begins with the word however. However is a linking word that is used for contrasting. It shows the writer is moving on to develop the other side of the argument. To recap, you should know how to structure an essay. Using paragraphs correctly in your essay is important. You need an introduction, which gives some background information about the topic, followed by what you are going to write about. You start the first body paragraph with a topic sentence that establishes the main idea you will write about. You follow this with some supporting sentences that give reasons and provide examples that develop your ideas further. You do something similar with the next body paragraph, but from the opposite point of view. And finish with a conclusion that summarizes the main points and makes it clear what you think. And you should link sentences with transition words. This gives your essay coherence. Using reference and synonyms, as we've seen, will help you achieve cohesion. That's all for today. You'll find more detail about today's program at our website. Good luck with your studies.
All right, types of cohesion. We've already mentioned, or your classmates did mention in their introduction or their presentation, that cohesion can be classified into two types: grammatical cohesion and lexical cohesion. Grammatical cohesion, we've already talked about, or your classmates mentioned, transitions, referent words such as pronouns, conjunctions. Lexical cohesion, examples of lexical cohesion are the use of repetition and synonyms and antonyms and collocations. So let's very quickly, since this has already been said, at least by your classmates in the presentation, let's very quickly go through these cohesive devices, whether grammatical or lexical. A cohesive text is created in many different ways then, using grammatical cohesion, for example, reference, pronouns, ellipsis, substitution, transition, conjunctions and transitions, and lexical cohesion using, as I said, synonyms, antonyms, etc., etc. Conjunctions and transitions, a type of grammatical cohesion. Conjunctions certainly are used to link clauses together and show the relationship between each other. For example, he is not really a good guy, but I still like him. And so the word but here, the conjunction but, does not only link the two clauses, he is not a good guy, I still like him. So but here has two functions. One, it links the two clauses, and the other function is that it shows what kind of relationship is being projected. In this context, that of contrast. So despite him being a not good man, I still like him, surprisingly. So conjunctions, and there are many types of conjunctions, and there are many also conjunctions that express the same type, the same function. For example, contrast. You have however, but, nonetheless, notwithstanding, etc., etc. So transition signals, linking words, are used to connect, sentences together. Things like furthermore, in addition. The discourse markers, previously I mentioned them in a class under the term discourse markers. So there's still cohesive devices that help connect sentences together and show the kind of relationship they exhibit. Let's watch this video about the use of transitions, and their important role in creating cohesion in a text. So this paragraph as it exists does not make much sense or difficult to understand because it lacks cohesive devices, and so it lacks coherence. Excuse me, can you please maintain silence? Excuse me. Can you turn off your mics? Julia, can you turn off your mic? I will turn you off. Okay. So this paragraph does not have cohesive devices, transitions that can help link sentences together and show the relationship. So this affects meaning. Compare this paragraph now with the coming paragraph that has cohesive devices. Obvious, need a second. What words are in that effective paragraph? The words, oh wow, I've forgotten now. Let me go to the paragraph. The word and, because, but, where. So these words help connect or link the different parts of the paragraph and sentences together, and so show the relationships and so coherence and meaning. How do these words make the effective paragraph easy to read? By showing the relationship between ideas. We are not in the context of discussing or detailing the different types of transitions. This you can get it from any writing book or reading book or grammar book or simply from the web. But we are in the context of telling you that transitions, regardless of what type, transitions are used to create cohesion in a text. So they are cohesive devices. But the details can be found in another course or by, just looking them up on the internet. Okay. One more interesting video about cohesion and coherence in writing by our esteemed YouTuber, the linguist and the language instructor, Mark Franco.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can...
Hi, glad you're here. You know, this is really exciting. Winter's almost over, the weather's starting to get warm. I plan to go to the park this Saturday. It's going to rain all day. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Oh, I know how we can improve this. Transition words. So stick around and let's see how we can use transition words to make the relationship between these ideas clearer. Hi, welcome back to Snap Language. I'm Mark Franco. So let's go back to those ideas at the start. Did I want to go to the park because it's supposed to rain? Or did I want to go, but it's supposed to rain? The relationship between these ideas is ambiguous. I could be saying two very different things. To make a relationship clear, we can use a transition or transition words. In this case, I could say this: I wanted to go to the park this weekend, but it's supposed to rain all day. But it's a transition word. It shows there's a relationship of conflict or contradiction between these two ideas. This also works. I wanted to go to the park this weekend, however, it's supposed to rain all day. How about this? Although I wanted to go to the park this weekend, it's supposed to rain all day. I could even say this: I wanted to go to the park this weekend, period. Then I introduced a conflicting idea. Nevertheless, it's supposed to rain all day. All these sentences express the same thing. Why are there so many ways of expressing the same thing, though? We had a video about this recently. Word choice. Let's say you're writing a long paragraph and you want to express opposition between several ideas. You don't want to repeat yourself saying, but, everywhere. No problem. You can choose from among many transition words that express the same thing and avoid repetition. So transition words show the relationship between ideas, but are there many possible relationships? Yes, and there's a transition word for each of these relationships. You can go to many websites like this one and you can see a long list of them. Let's connect these ideas using transition words that show their relationships. When we see photos of outer space, we are struck by its beauty. Space is a deadly place for humans. A person cannot survive more than a few seconds in a vacuum of space. Cosmic radiation damages DNA, affects the central nervous system, and causes cancer. Space travel for long periods of time is impossible at the moment because astronauts would not survive the trip. This is confusing. Let's see. This first statement is very positive, but the second statement is actually negative.
So here there are 5 ideas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But these ideas are at present difficult to understand because the text, the paragraph lacks cohesive devices, lacks cohesion. And so these are sentences that are related. Yeah, they have to do with space, outer space, but we do not know the relationship between these sentences. So the paragraph, is it choppy, is disconnected, is disjointed? So let's see how it will be when we, add the right cohesive devices.
So there's a contradiction. Easy, we just saw this type of relationship. The next idea. Oh, it's an example of how deadly space can be for humans. How about this?
For example?
Good. The next idea, well, that's another example of how deadly space is. Just adding this to the first. The relationship is addition.
Furthermore,
good.
Or in addition.
Now it's clear we have an example. Then another example is added here. The last idea, well, this idea shows the consequence of all of the above information.
Consequently,
so how about
as a result,
this? Perfect. Do you see how these transition words work? You get ideas that are related and use transition words to connect the ideas and show what the relationship is between them. Transition words are very useful in writing. They help make your ideas flow between sentences and between paragraphs. Let's say the next paragraph was, scientists have come up with creative ideas to protect astronauts in space, and so forth.
Scientists have come up with creative ideas to protect astronauts. So, the last sentence, we travel for a long period of time, is impossible at the moment because astronauts would not survive the trip. Scientists have come up with creative ideas. So, the relationship, it seems, between this paragraph and the previous paragraph is that of contrast. Would not survive. Scientists, however, scientists have come up with creative ideas to protect. So a word like however here, or any other, any other word expressing contrast, such as nonetheless, however, but, will actually help, link these paragraphs and show the relationship, and so make the text cohesive and coherent.
Well, the first paragraph says space travel is impossible right now. This next paragraph is actually saying it's not all bad news. We can use a transition here to connect the paragraphs.
Nonetheless,
this shows the contrast between all of the first paragraph and the second paragraph. Now, when you read, it's very important to pay attention to transition words very closely. This way you understand not only the ideas themselves, but how they are connected. There's a lot more we could say about transitions, but let's make this an overview video. Look at the descriptions below the video for additional materials. Don't forget to like this video if you did, and subscribe to our channel. And until the next time, thank you for stopping by and watching this video.
All right. We've already talked about referencing, pronouns, anaphoric reference, referring back. So where the word he, for example, refers back to the taxi driver, and cataphoric reference, cataphora, anaphora, cataphora, where the pronoun refers forward. So the referent is forward. Here he comes, our award-winning host. It's John Doe. And so he refers forward. This is known as, so referencing. Ellipsis, we already talked about it, taking words out. It's a type of cohesion. The younger child was very outgoing, the older much more reserved. The older child was. And so the words child was are ellipted, are omitted. Substitution here, a word is not being ellipted or omitted, but rather substituted for by another one, like this example here given by your classmates. It's made by the lady British linguist Michael Halliday, along with his wife Ruqayya Hassan, in their book Cohesion in English. Which ice cream would you like? I would like the pink one. So the word one here is a substitute for ice cream. And so you understand that the word one is being used as a substitution for ice cream. So understanding this can make you understand the text. This is a cohesive, one way to create cohesion by using a substitution. These are then the types of grammatical cohesion: conjunctions and transitions, referencing using pronouns, different types also, like demonstrative pronouns, this, that, these, reflexive pronouns, myself, yourself. So not just personal pronouns, all types of pronouns that refer. These are words whose meaning will not be understood without the referent. Will not make sense. If there is he, but there is no taxi driver, then it will not make sense. Ellipsis, 3, and substitution, 4. The other type of cohesion is lexical. We've said repetition of words can create cohesion. Of course, we use synonyms in order to prevent boredom. Instead of using the same word, we use other words to create interest and to eliminate boredom. So the use of synonyms, repeating a keyword or using a synonym for it, can be used as a cohesive device. Collocation. Collocation refers to the customary way in which certain words are being used together. And collocation is crucial in any language. In the other course about reading in semester 5, reading for specific purposes, I dedicate a week for the discussion of collocation, building collocations. But very quickly in this context, collocation, as I said, refers to the way in which certain words always occur together. Drive carelessly, fall in love, a long road, a tall man, a beautiful woman. So collocation. Two words or more frequently or customarily come together. So in word, collocation means word combinations. Word combinations. And it's important that when you learn a word, do not learn it in isolation. Learn it as part of a larger unit. Build up your collocations. Do not be concerned about building up your vocabulary. Instead of vocabulary building, let's talk now about collocation building. the more collocations you have, the more fluent in your speech you will be, the more effective you will be, the more appropriate you will be, the more fluent, effective, appropriate, and you will sound native like a native. I don't want to give examples of collocations because this is really not the context of collocation, but I'll give you enough examples when we talk about it in semester 5. So collocation is also a cohesive device. In conclusion, coherence and cohesion. Coherence is the logical unity and organization of ideas in a text, which can be achieved by having topic sentences, a thesis statement, a method of organization, and the different types of cohesive devices we have highlighted. Cohesion or lack of coherence means that points within one paragraph are unrelated, or paragraphs within one text are unrelated. Cohesion is the connection of sentences through linguistic means. The connection of sentences and also parts of sentences through linguistic means. These are the cohesive devices. Linguistic means, cohesive devices, which allow to achieve a smooth text flow effect. Cohesive elements include, as we have seen, conjunctions, transitions, reference words, substitution, lexical devices such as repetition, synonyms, antonyms, collocations, etc., etc. What we need to know is that the text should not sound like a list of bullet points. An idea should be placed in a logical order. In a logical order. That's all about today's class. It is not complex. I have it presented. I feel well. If you still have doubts, you can just revise my slides. I've already uploaded them on my Guru, and I will also soon upload this recording on my YouTube so that you can have more fun and more pleasure. Any questions? All right then, thank you for coming, and I shall see you next week. Sadly, the last week, but let's not talk about it now because I don't want to, break my heart or, cry now. Let's postpone this until next week. See you next week. Last week. Last week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.